We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting of the Board of Directors. This is the 16th meeting of the year for the board here at City Hall. Wow. And we have a number of action items to address this evening, but we'll begin with an invocation by Pastor Scott Mercer, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by our very own Police Chief Chapman. Please rise.
Almighty Father, we just thank you and praise you for what you are doing in this city and what you are doing through this board. It's so awesome to see how you use us to accomplish your will. Father, we need wisdom tonight. I pray that upon each one of our board, Lord, that you would just give them wisdom. Father, I pray around the world for all of the turmoil that's going on. We think of Afghanistan. We think of Haiti. And I pray, Lord, that this would bring us both to have compassion and empathy, and that it would also bring us to be grateful and thankful for what we do have, and ultimately to thank you for your Son and what you have done for us through him. So, Father, I just pray this blessing over each one on the board. And we ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to Pastor Mercer and Police Chief Chapman. We'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday.
Here.
Director Elaine Jones.
Here.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from consent agenda to new business?
Mayor, if we could, I do have one item we'd like to add to the agenda tonight. This is concerning the ARPA funds and the rental assistance that we had with our sub-agreement with Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness. It looks like we're going to exceed what my spending authority is with the $60,000. We would like to bring a resolution to you tonight at the end of your meeting, and Councilor Albright will read that when that time comes.
Mayor, if this amendment to the agenda is approved, this will appear as a new item number 20, with the ordinance 02136 being item 21. This will be entitled, for reading purposes, Resolution R-21-130.
Very good. Well, we have a proposal from the city manager to have this item.
I move to amend the agenda accordingly.
Motion to amend.
Second.
Seconded by Director Jones. All in favor of adding this to the agenda as item 20, R-21-130, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
So I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Very good. Thank you.
Second.
Director Garcia and Director Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda is amended. So we have a new item 20, and 20 becomes 21. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of the regularly held meeting of August 3rd, 2021. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Director Trusty, seconded by
Second.
Director Dobbs-Smith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. We have guests to be recognized. Any director have a guest? Mr. Burrow?
Yes, sir.
No guests. You're all of our guests. Thank you. City Manager's report, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I'll be brief. One of the things I do want to mention tonight as you can tell, we're back in mass. Both Garland County and the city of Hot Springs are requiring masks now in all of our city and county buildings. This past week, we, as in Garland County, have reached the highest number of active COVID cases at more than 1,000, and the hospitals and first responders are extremely busy. Hospitals have been full, and we just really appreciate what our healthcare community is doing for all of those in our community. And speaking with them, they're all overworked and overstressed, and this is just it has been a really tough time. Over this past weekend, our local hospitals, we had 15 COVID patients pass away. At this point, it seems like everyone has had a friend or a family member that's been impacted by the pandemic. One of those that had passed away is Adam Hatmaker, and for years, Adam has been our videographer and has helped us make the videos that we've shown. Just shocking. Adam is 41 years old, has a wife, 2 children, and we certainly send our condolences out to his family. That was a shocking bit of news that we received about Adam. Although vaccination rates have started to increase, we're still only 33% in Garland County. So we continue to encourage all of those that can to reconsider and really think about getting the vaccination. Because of that rapid spread, though, and the strain it's putting on our hospitals and city departments, we've instituted the mask mandate again. On a bit of good news, we had a piece of equipment delivered and installed at the David F. Watkins Park. It's the last element of the city's first all-inclusive playground. It's the wheelchair accessible swing. It's already getting a lot of action and play. This is the second wheelchair accessible swing that we have. We have one at Family Park, and soon we'll have one at hopefully at Baseball Trail Park. Also, we had our first contract finished at the new Lake Washita water supply. 2 miles of 48-inch welded pipe. Completed that in July. Built construction, finished that. They've also got another project they'll be working on with us. The new pipe's been pressure tested. It's ready for use, and the landscape restoration is almost complete. But we're glad to see our first contract for that major project being completed. Mayor, that's all I have tonight.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. This time we'll hear from individual directors on announcements of upcoming events. Any director have an upcoming event they'd like the public to be aware of? Well, we're all quiet tonight. Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that do not merit individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Director Trustee, Director Garcia, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. Item under new business. First item is to consider resolution R21-121. Now it's the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-121, a resolution awarding a bid to Square One Enterprises Corporation for 2021 water line improvement projects. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if it.
Motion to adopt. Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Trustee. And Mr. Todd Pillar, Engineering Project Manager, will provide the staff report. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. We took bids on July 26th for our 2021 water lines. We're just a little bit behind because of the COVID, but the project schedule on this, we should be done in February. So I think it'll be fine. Square One was the low responsive bidder out of 4 bidders, and their price was $915,923. Our estimate for construction on this project was 1.2. So we were real happy because of the steel prices and so forth. Prices of materials have gone up. The streets that will be upgraded with larger size mains and fire hydrants will be Elise Circle, Greenwood, Ira, Pearl, West Grand, Shelby, Fawn, Eder, Albert Pike, between Afton and Pinewood, and then Santa Cruz, Linden Park, and Honeycutt. We're going to redo the bridge there at Honeycutt, so we're going to move our 12-inch water line. 3 of these projects come from the 2018 Water Master Plan. And I looked it up today, and on our near-term Water Master Plan CIP projects, we only have 3 left. It's amazing. We got compliments from our consulting engineers and contractors that the city is so aggressive in doing upgrades on our water system to follow the master plan. I thought that was great. These projects will be funded out of the 2021 water distribution budget.
Any questions of Todd? Very good.
Thank you. And Bill, by the side note on your remarks about the 48-inch pipe that Belt did, I was sent a 60-inch ring of what's going to go through the Blakely Mountain. Someday I'm going to put that 60-inch ring right here. Thank you.
Very neat. All right, well, thank you. Anyone from the audience sign up? Does no one from the audience sign up to speak on this? Discussion amongst individual directors? Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. We have about 10 items remaining, and 8 of them are condemnations. And as much as we hate to see structures removed, at times, they're beyond repair. So we're going to call on Kathy Selman to begin. We're going to consider Resolution R-21-122 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-122, resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 109 Menard Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Holliday, seconded by Director Trustee. And our staff report will be provided by Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm not going to say that 8 times. So.
It's okay.
I mean, I can welcome you 8 times. I don't. Welcome.
109 Bernard is a single-family residence with an attached lean-to behind the building. We've had neighborhood services have been working on this property since 2016. The property is vacant. Neither the house nor the lean-to have been painted in the past 8+ years, and the exterior damage from years of neglect is significant. After years of the city maintaining the property, the owner sold the property to the current owner, who lives in California, in 2019. No improvements have been made to the house since the time of that sale. The property remains certified to the state for failure to pay taxes, and the city has liens in the amount of $832.76. A 20-day notice was sent to the owner via certified mail, and we have received a signed green card as proof of service.
Well, thank you. Any questions of Ms. Selman?
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-121, resolution condemning certain real property at 109 Menard Street? 109 Menard Street. There is none, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider Resolution R21-123, and I ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-123, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 405 Mississippi Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Dobbs Smith, Director Jones, and again, Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director, will give the staff report.
Thank you. 405 Mississippi is a single-family residence. Neighborhood Services first started working to attain compliance on this property in 2008. There's a hole in the roof, ceiling, and floor damage throughout the structure, missing soffit and fascia, and missing siding. The taxes on the property are delinquent. The city has been maintaining the property and has liens totaling $80.70. This file was sent to the attorney ad litem, and all attempts to contact the owners and other parties were made by that office. And I do want to mention that the lien amounts that we're talking about are the liens recorded as of today. Any attorney ad litem or release fees are not included in that number and will be additional.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-123 condemning certain real property at 405 Mississippi Street? 405 Mississippi Street. Hearing none, Mayor, if you would call for the vote.
Very good. Any further discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Move on to Resolution R21-124 and ask the City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-124, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 201 Sunset Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Director Dobbs Smith, Director Garcia. Again, Kathy Selman will give their staff report.
Thank you. Excuse me, thank you. 201 Sunset is a single-family residence with half basement. Neighborhood Services has had a housing file open on this property since 2005. It was vacated in 2009. There is visible damage to the soffit and roof after years of neglect and rodent harborage. The full extent of the interior damage is unknown, as the last tenants were hoarders, and the house has been full of trash and debris since they vacated the structure. Property is certified to the state for taxes. City has been maintaining the property, but at this time, the total liens is zero. This file was sent to the attorney ad litem, and all attempts to contact the owners and other parties were made by that office.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-21-124 condemning certain real property at 201 Sunset Street? 201 Sunset Street. There is none, Mayor.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Resolution R21-125 and ask the City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-125, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 402 Woodlawn Avenue. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion and a second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Trustee, Director Garcia. And once again, Ms. Selman.
Thank you. 402 Woodlawn is a single-family residence that was damaged by a fire in September of 2020. Since that fire, the house has been vacant and the yard around the house has been neglected. There's a hole in the roof and significant damage to the inside of the house as well as to the exterior walls. It has been further damaged by vagrants. The property is part of the estate of the late Frank and Helena Schubitz and is certified to the state for failure to pay the property tax. There is a lien on the property for $99.32 because it has been necessary for the city to cut and clean the lot. The 20-day notice of condemnation was issued to Mr. Drake's office, and we received our green signature card back.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Selman? Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-125 condemning certain real property at 402 Woodlawn Avenue? 402 Woodlawn Avenue. There's none, Mayor.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider Resolution R-21-126, and I ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-126, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 265 Pond Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if you.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Garcia.
Which one was that?
We're on
126 Pond.
126. Item 16 in your packet.
Yeah.
So Director Garcia, you made the motion. I think Director Jones made the second.
I made the motion.
She made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron made, Director Holliday made the motion. Director Jones made the second. Okay, we'll go back to Kathy. That's stable. Kathy.
Thank you. 265 Pond is a single-family residence. It was located next, or is located next to a former mechanic shop. The house became vacant when an owner died and the shop closed. There is significant damage to the roof and to the exterior of the house due to years of neglect. Taxes are current on the property and there are no city liens at this time. A 20-day notice was sent to the owner, Mr. Edward Charles Wesson, by certified mail, and we have received our signed green card.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Selman? Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-126 condemning certain real property at 265 Pond Street? 265 Pond Street. There's none, Mayor.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Now we'll consider Resolution R-21-127. I ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-127, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 1104 Rector Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion to adopt?
Second. Go ahead.
We're all rushing in now.
Mhm.
Director Jones.
Sorry, Mayor.
We'll let the left side of the room get it. My left. Director Jones and Director Dobbs Smith. But the one and only Kathy Selman will give the report.
Thank you very much. 1104 Rector is a single-family residence. Neighborhood Services has been attempting to attain compliance on this property since 2014. It became vacant in 2017. There's a hole in the roof, missing windows and doors that have been boarded by the city. There is significant interior damage, such as missing and moldy ceilings and holes in the walls. Vagrants have used this structure as a shelter for several years, and the city has replaced the boards over the windows each time. This property is certified to the state for taxes, and the city has been maintaining the property. There are city liens totaling $1,593.79. This file was sent to the attorney ad litem, and all attempts to contact the owners and other parties were made by that office.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Selman? Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-127 condemning certain real property at 1104 Rector Street? 1104 Rector Street. There's
Very
none,
good.
Mayor.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. We have two more condemnations. Now we'll consider Resolution R-21-128 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-128, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 312 Jacob Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee,
Second.
Director Garcia.
So this is the right side of your.
Yeah, we got the right side, yeah, there we go, we're alternating. So, we'll have a staff report will be provided by the one and only Kathy Selman.
Thank you. 312 Jacobs is a single-family residence. It's sat on a parcel, on the same parcel as 310 Jacobs, which was condemned by the board and removed by the city in 2019. Neighborhood Services has been attempting compliance on this property since 2017. Visible damage to the structure includes missing roofing, soffit and fascia, siding, broken and boarded windows. Vagrants have used this structure as a shelter for several years, and the city has replaced the boards over the windows many times. Property is certified to the state for taxes, and the city has been maintaining the property. We have liens totaling $3,978.04. This file was sent to the attorney ad litem, and all attempts to contact the owners and other parties were made by that office.
Very good, thank you. We have any questions of Ms. Salmon? Any discussion amongst individual directors? Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-128 condemning certain real property at 312 Jacobs Street? 312 Jacobs Street. There's none, Mayor.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution is adopted. Our final condemnation of the evening is to consider Resolution R-21-129, and ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-129, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069 located at 208 Nevada Street. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Dobbs Smith,
Second.
Director Holliday. Staff report will be provided by Ms. Selman.
Thank you. 208 Nevada is a single-family residence. Neighborhood Services has been working to get compliance on this property since the tragedy that occurred here in 2017. This was the site of a triple murder. The house has been vacant since that time and has been vandalized and damaged by vagrants using it as a shelter. The building has been boarded and secured by the city. However, there is significant damage to the interior after vagrants have removed the board over the door and built a fire inside the building. The property is certified to the state for taxes. The city has been maintaining the property and has liens totaling $1,038.61. This file was sent to the attorney ad litem, and all attempts to contact the owners and other parties were made by that office.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Salmon? Director Garcia.
I just had one because I believe, I missed one, but are all of these certified to the state for taxes?
They are not all.
Oh, was there one?
I think there is one that is not.
Oh, okay.
One,
At the beginning,
the second one,
on Mississippi.
yes, Mississippi.
Okay, but the others are.
Pond is current.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions of Ms. Salmon? Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition of Resolution R-21-129 condemning certain real property located at 208 Nevada Street? 208 Nevada Street. There is none, Mayor.
Very good. Please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. At the beginning of this meeting, we added an item to the agenda, which we'll address at this time. It's Resolution R21-130, and I ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-130, a resolution approving a change order to a sub-agreement with Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness to administer an additional $37,000 in American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 ARPA funds to continue eligible COVID-19 eviction prevention and response rent relief activities. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Holliday, seconded by Director Jones. And Director Selman, I thought we were done with you.
No.
Oh,
But I would like to take this opportunity to thank the board for the additional demolition funds that are being allocated to the Planning and Development Department. As you can see from the properties that we just acted upon, it's badly needed, and we really appreciate that
very
help.
good. Well, thank you.
But with regard to the American Rescue Plan Act, Rent Assistance Subrecipient Agreement Change Order, I talk about need. On the 3rd of August, the board passed a resolution approving the allocation of $100,000 in ARPA funding to provide additional rent relief payments to address the continued impact of COVID-19 on the economy, public health, individuals, and businesses. Based on estimated needs at the time, a $60,000 contract was signed with Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness to administer the rent relief program and provide case management services. They had successfully administered the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act Rent Emergency Subsistence Payment Program and had the capacity to continue with a similar ARPA-funded program. The need for rental assistance exceeded estimates, and by last Friday, Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness had fully expended the original contract amount of $60,000. This aided 24 Hot Springs households with current and back rent payments to address COVID-19 related housing instability and prevent evictions. As before, these payments are provided directly to landlords. They do not go to the family. So this also benefits landlords who are having problems with their cash flow because of COVID. So this is a recommendation for approval of a $37,000 change order to continue the rent assistance program at Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness. And that concludes my presentation.
Very good. Any questions of Ms. Selman? So the source of these funds are from the federal government?
Yes.
Is that correct? It's not from local sources?
Not at all.
Thank you. Any other questions? Did we have anyone to sign up? I know this was walked on. Anybody in the audience that want to speak to this issue? Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance 021-36, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So move.
Director Trustee,
Second.
help me out. Who said that?
The tie.
Director Holliday?
Director Garcia.
Thank you.
Choice.
Thumb wrestle for it.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion to, and a second to suspend the rules, read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-21-36, an ordinance establishing noise control for the city of Hot Springs, Arkansas, establishing a penalty for violations, repealing ordinance number 5003, declaring an emergency, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion
So
to-
moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Thank you. And Mr. Albright will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll attempt to do that. I'd like to first begin by letting the board know that the reason that this issue has come up for your consideration is due to the fact that, as you all know, you have adopted a short-term residential rental ordinance. And part of the requirements of that ordinance is that we publish a Good Neighbors brochure. Part of that, the contents of that and some of the issues related to STRs in general surround noise and noise issues. And so in reading and reviewing the noise ordinance that the city currently has on its books, which was adopted in 2001, this ordinance 5003, part of the issues that concerned me was not having a quantifiable way of measuring the noise itself. Typically, as a prosecutor, that's one of the difficult things that you have. Mr. Hurst can attest to this, that when you're in district court, it's the officer's observance of the noise, and so the officer is making a judgment in the field. I'm not saying that our current ordinance will not withstand court scrutiny. It can, but it does give me some pause for concern. Our current ordinance deals with many of the same things that we're talking about in the proposed ordinance, whether that be noise at commercial locations, noisy vehicles, amplified sound from a vehicle, noisy animals and birds, outdoor sound amplification, whether that's on private or public property, aircrafts, construction sites, alarms, church bells, domestic equipment, things of that nature. One of the things that is currently in your ordinance now is an exemption for certain public arenas. 5-11 of the original ordinance itself, it's codified in a different number, but it states that sound generated as a result of otherwise lawful activities at the following establishments: Hot Springs Civic and Convention Center, Transportation Depot and Plaza, all public parks and playgrounds, all accredited public and private preschools, schools, colleges, or universities, all properly zoned and permitted private or public or private sporting event arenas and amusement parks, and at that time even the fairgrounds, which was inside the city limits at that time, no longer the case. However, in ascertaining whether or not there's been a violation or not, the ordinance requires an officer in the field to make a determination of whether it is plainly audible and disruptive, meaning that a sufficient volume to disrupt the conduct of normal activities of persons located on receiving property as observed by an enforcement officer. So, and I conferred with Chief Chapman on this, and his former position. Bluffton actually had the same decimeters that we're talking about having, where they could try to register the noise that's being produced to see what that level is, and if it rises to a level that you as the legislative body deem to be in violation of your ordinance. So I give you that backdrop simply to lay out that trying to regulate noise is not a new thing. It's how you try to go about it. What are you trying to accomplish? And so the question that is always asked, is this going to be a qualitative type of assessment, or is it going to be a quantitative assessment? Qualitative, it's a judgment call to some extent, and then convincing the judge that it was or it wasn't. If you have a meter, much like, again, let's use a DWI per se. Someone takes the test and they blow what they blow, that's per se. So if we have a sound meter, a decimeter, we will be able to ascertain what that sound is. Now, the debate and what you're charged with trying to consider this evening is what levels are appropriate, what levels are not, how are those impacted by where the sound is being generated, and at what time, perhaps, that sound is being generated. So the draft that you have before you and was included in your packet goes through a general determination of what is unreasonable noise, but then goes on to state what specific acts are deemed unreasonable noise. And so we have set out examples of that, such as building and construction operations between the hours of 10 p.m., 7 a.m., except where necessary in emergency situations to preserve property, or if it was in the best of the public interest. If that's a time that needs to be debated, that's what you're here for tonight. The next thing that is unreasonable, deemed to be unreasonable, is in a residential zone or a planned development zone where the primary use is residential, the use of any device or apparatus for the amplification of sound between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. in such a manner as to generate levels of 60 decibels if that's on a dBA, or 70 decibels if that's on a dBc or greater, as measured from any point along the boundary line of the real property on which the sound pressure is being generated. So in other words, if it's on person A's property or business A's property, that's where the sound is being generated, you go to the property line, use the meter, it's either under or it's over. So it's either in compliance or it's not in compliance, and that would depend on what time of day or night it is.
Did you just say 10 p.m.?
I said
Because my
11.
copy says 11.
I think I said 11. If I said 10, I didn't mean to.
Okay.
No, it says 11.
Yeah.
I know it says 11 here, but I thought he said 10, and I didn't know if I had the right copy.
It's 10 to 7 a.m. for construction under Section 3A. Section 3B is 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Okay.
Okay?
That's where I got a lot of feedback in this area.
Yes. And so those are nighttime hours. One thing that needs to be considered as part of your discussion anyway is what do we do about daytime?
Right.
This draft does not have provisions for daytime measures, and so that's a modification that would certainly be appropriate. Following on in Section 3, Paragraph C, in a non-residential zoning area or planned development zone where the primary use is commercial, same issue, but Sunday through Thursday, daytime hours, 8 to midnight, is 85 to 95 decibels. Nighttime, which are hours midnight or 1 a.m. if it's a weekend, Friday or Saturday, because we do have different standard for Friday and Saturday, to 8 a.m. I would propose an amendment here as well. It does not give a decibel reading. I think that there needs to be a decibel reading for that, and that's open for discussion. Friday and Saturday, on the weekend, the time is extended out 8 a.m. To 1 a.m. for the daytime, and then nighttime, again, does not have a clearly quantitative number to use there. I would suggest a change there. In C1 zone, that level is anywhere from 90 to 100, again measured along any point along the boundary line of the real property. It does not differentiate between daytime or nighttime. Again, that may be an issue that you all want to consider making a difference with. Notwithstanding anything elsewhere in any part of this ordinance, you cannot use any device or apparatus to amplify sound within the public right-of-way. And by that, I'm talking about, and I've actually made some notes on anticipated amendments, but any street, avenue, boulevard, highway, road, thoroughfare, sidewalk, alley, or other property, including city parks, which is owned or controlled by a governmental entity. So that does not mean that we are impeding on someone's First Amendment rights. They have every right to express themselves. They just will not be able to amplify that expression. It again deals with loud automobiles, whether that's because they're under disrepair or they have a loud exhaust system. That also continues to deal with the amplification of equipment that's mounted in the vehicle, for example, a stereo, that is audible at a distance 25 feet or more from the nearest point of the external point of the motor vehicle. Again, the nuisance animals are also addressed. And then there are some specific acts that are deemed to be reasonable under this proposed ordinance. The airport activity, the use of bells or chimes in conjunction with religious services, as long as it's not incessant, athletic or school-related events or activities that occurs on their facilities, city-approved, sanctioned, and sponsored functions, activities, and events. Those include things but not limited to solid waste collection and bus routes, sound generated by any public event which is sponsored, co-sponsored, permitted, or otherwise approved by the city, including but not limited to parades, sporting events, activities, or accredited public or private preschool, schools, college, university, community celebrations, community fireworks displays, or any similar outdoor activities, races, festivals, fiestas, or concerts. And Section 4F is one that I think has garnered some attention over the past week. This would also exempt events at a facility used for the production, display, and promotion of indoor or outdoor musical events that has been designed and built with inherent architectural design, landscape, and topography measures to reduce sound to minimal intrusive levels, and has been approved by the Planning Commission. I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to know that we're talking about the outdoor venue that may be constructed on the former Majestic Hotel site, as well as the admission of any sound from an alarm, assuming that the alarm is under proper working order and it resets within 15 minutes of activation. I think Mr. Burr and I shared with you all last week examples of home alarms and sometimes car alarms or business alarms that go off, and they are just, exceedingly loud to begin with, but there's no one there to shut them off. So that needs to be an issue that's dealt with. Enforcement would be as written. Neighborhood Services and the Police Department, after speaking with Mr. Burra and Ms. Selman and the chief, I recommend that we take Neighborhood Services out of that, and we deal with just the Hot Springs Police Department with that. Nothing that you're being asked to pass is going to impact in any way the lawful discharge of the duties associated with the police department, the fire department, emergency medical services, public emergency warning systems, public works, and the like. The penalties are set out in Section 6. It's no more than $500 for the first offense. If it's continuing day after day, it's $250 per day. It cannot be less than any state penalty that is under statutory authority, and there is the ability for the court to pull any permit that the property owner might have if this is a continuing nuisance. This would repeal the previous resolution or previous ordinance that you have on the books from 2001. One of the other things that's contained in this current draft is an emergency clause. We don't have the equipment that's needed to enforce this the way that it's written. So I would also recommend that the emergency clause be removed and that it take effect in its normal course, which is 30 days after passage. That'll give us enough time to get the equipment ordered for the police department. I know I rambled on there for a good little bit. I'm sure that you all have questions, and I will be happy to answer any that you might have.
Any questions?
Oh, I do want to do one more thing, if you don't mind. This is just, anybody can get on the internet and become an expert pretty quickly, but yeah, Harmony's got a slide for you to look. This is just to give you an idea of what the, people want to say, well, I don't know what a decibel is. I don't know what, if the 50's loud, if 100's loud. This just kind of gives you some rule of thumb about what measures we're talking about. Even a quiet office, for example, is 50. Heavy traffic, noisy restaurant, 80. You get on up to a chainsaw, it's 105.
Oh, this is good. Can you send that to us? I didn't see it. That's good. Very good.
Hopefully, we won't have very many shotgun blasts and no rocket launches.
Well. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Albright?
I do.
Director Garcia?
I think it was me.
I
I
didn't
heard you.
speak, I just had my hand raised. Thank you, Mayor. I have received quite a bit of feedback regarding Section 3, items A and B. And I too received the questions about the decibel levels, so this is a very handy little guide that you just presented, because I didn't understand that as well either, or at all. But feedback on Section 3, number A, or item A, the question arose if the 7 a.m., there was feedback asking that to be 8 a.m. If it could not be 8 a.m., to add a Sunday through Thursday and Friday and Saturday for that as well, because of that continuing on weekends that was causing problems in residential areas to residents. In Section 3, item B, there was quite a bit of feedback about that to be 10 to 7, or and what happens in the daytime. What currently it says 11 to 7, but nothing after 7 a.m. And there needs to be a identification of the daytime hours. Some of these people staying at some of the STRs that are here, it's not just nighttime parties, they're daytime parties with loud music, and I've had complaints about that, and they've asked for it to be identified, and I'm not sure what, I'm perplexed as to what the decibel level should be, but it should be more than just between 11 and 7 that it's measured. And if it's going to be more during the daytime than nighttime, to have that 10 to 8, and then what it can be from the AM till either the 10 or 11, whatever the board decides to do. But my residents I heard from preferred 10 and 8 on both of those, A and B, but to have a decibel level identified, added for all of the daytime hours, and if we don't change the 7 a.m.s, to add a Sunday and Thursday, and then weekends like the non-residential has, because of there are people that work shift work and have to sleep during the day, and there are problems that have risen where they can't get the sleep to go to work at night. There are STRs that are having problems with the daytime loud, very loud music, and on weekends, if the construction work's continuing through the weekend, they're working during the week, they can't sleep past 7 a.m. on a Saturday or Sunday morning, even if they're going to their church service later. They don't have to get up that early on those days, was a lot of the feedback I'm trying to condense it. There was a lot of different things, but I think that captures most of it.
Very good. Director Dobbs-Smith, do you have some comments, questions?
Yes, I had a couple of questions on Section 4, items E and F. Are you saying that, or is this saying that these are exempted even during the hours of 11 p.m. to 7 a.m.? It says they're exempted. Are they exempted during those hours? Because I can't imagine any church bells ringing between 11 and 7, or any sporting events running much past 11, or any of those other celebrations that are there.
Right. Well, with respect to 4B, it does say during daytime hours. But the others, yes. there are no hours that restrict them.
Well, I can't imagine why we couldn't add those hours. I'm sure there will be a time or two when a ball game goes long or something, but most people aren't going to complain about that. And then section F almost looks like it was put in there specifically for the Majestic Arena idea. I mean, it appears to me, and it appears to the three people that called me, that was added specifically for the arena or the amphitheater. And when Mr. Wilson came to address us, he stood right there at that podium, and he told Director Holliday that she could stand across the street at St. Mary's and wouldn't be able to hear the noise. Now, I don't think any of us really, I don't know that I believed that, but he did say that. So are we adding this just to exempt the amphitheater? Because a lot of people live around there, have lived around there, plan to live around there, and they don't want to hear. This says on that little sheet that you just showed us that a rock concert is 130 decibels. So I'm not sure that the people who live adjacent to that, the math and science schools there, they're there to learn. I can't imagine they would want to hear music after 11, and I can't see that it would be much of a hardship to tell them that they need to have their concerts over by 11.
Any questions, further comments or questions?
I have a couple as well. I do echo most of the sentiments that came. Specifically, I have had people come to me and ask about Section 4F, if there is a way that we could actually just remove that and have whatever facility, wherever it is, operate under what is in their zone, if it's C1, C2, CTR, whatever. I think that could handle everything, similar to what Director Dobson has said, that in C1, and actually at C1 we don't have times anyway, so that was kind of the other thing. I think in C1 we do need to have a nighttime in there, not just for the amphitheater or anything else that might happen there, but just in general. C1 has been spreading up Park Avenue, and so I think we do need to kind of protect what's going on further north on Park Avenue as well. So just to make note, if we could discuss adding a nighttime restriction or a change in C1, which is, what section is that? Section 3D. And then also in 3F, the vehicles, again, that word unreasonable is there, not a decibel level, so I'm not sure if we can put, just to make that easier again, just like we've talked about, anywhere that there's not a decibel measure, I would strongly recommend that. I don't want to put any of our officers in a position to where they have to make a decision at the moment that they can't, just like you referenced before, so.
Typically, just to address that one, and if we can let her go back, but I just want to address that one issue. The problem, the difficulty with that is the vehicles are moving. And so typically what you have is a revving of the engine, the rattling of the exhaust. It's an intentional act. And so it's difficult to get a measurement, because when you stop them, they turn off the vehicle.
Right. So how is that handled in practice? I mean, we can all stand downtown and go
Sure.
half deaf when
The same, yeah.
a vehicle goes by.
It's handled the same way that it has been since 2001 and before. We write noise ordinance violations.
Okay.
It's, the issue with the property boundaries and the complaints between neighbors is the one that is so difficult, because the neighbor's perspective is oftentimes different than that than the officer in the field. If it's dogs, the animal control officer shows up, all of a sudden the dog doesn't bark. It's things like that. And so when you have, most of these complaints are going to come as complaints. It's not always going to be an officer, is driving down Central and hears noise that he wants to go investigate. I mean, if it's, shot spotter, that's a different thing. So when that dispute comes up, when that complaint is received and the officer is dispatched, that's when he needs to be able to be definitive between two disputing parties, essentially.
No, that makes sense.
Any further questions? Director Garcia?
The feedback I received was all in the residential, but the comments that were made about the C1, I just have questions on that because last year we didn't have a lot of the festivals that are planning to come back this year for the Blues Festival and the Jazz Festival and hopefully after the first of the year, the St. Patrick's Day Parade and the bands that set up for them. So those may occur in C1, but I believe it looks like those music festivals would have higher decibel levels that are here. And so when I read this other section, I didn't read it that it was just for the possible venue that's coming to the Majestic property. I was looking at any outdoor type of concert or they have at other places. Some could be, around different holidays or and at outside school grounds or wherever. So I don't want us to pass something and then make exceptions just for city, when it's on city property or something like that. I think that we should treat everybody the same and think about not just that one venue, but everything.
Director Weatherford?
Anything that the A&P Commission usually does downtown, whether it's the St. Patrick's Day Parade or music or whatever it may be, 10 o'clock shuts off.
Yeah.
It never goes past 10 o'clock.
Those would be covered under section 3E, unless expressly authorized by a special event permit that's issued by the city. I now have that issued by the city in red in my new draft.
And one other question, construction. Are you trying to set a time in the morning that you can start or not?
3E.
Because in the summertime, we're going to start at 6 o'clock. We're going to beat the heat and we're going to be going at 2 o'clock.
It's in two places. Yeah, it's been a long time since I finished concrete, but I can tell you in the summertime, you get there before the sun comes
Yeah.
up, and you take a break during the day, and you come back when it goes down.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough.
Well, with that
Now, I
weekend-
work a lot in the village and it's 7 o'clock. You can't do anything before 7 in the village, but
Well, that's what ours says
That's
now.
what ours
Yeah,
is.
but I think adding that weekend part, maybe is sort of the bigger issue, is that somebody actually gets a day where they can relax and they've got equipment,
okay, but
next
it's
door.
the construction guy that's throwing a deadline and he didn't get it during the week because it rained and he works on the weekend to catch up. So you're gonna tell him he can't do it? Personally, as a contractor, I'm gonna be down here screaming and yelling at you.
Yeah, your neighbor might be screaming and yelling back. That's the problem, trying to
It's
find.
okay, I've had it before.
All right, well, we have 3 people that have signed up to speak on this issue. Why don't we go ahead and hear from them, and then we can circle back. Mr. Justin Hurst, please come forward and restate your name, address, and city district, please.
Justin Hurst, 102 Ruby Street, District 6. So I'm actually here this evening on behalf of R.A. Wilson Enterprises. It was obviously just mentioned by Mr. Albright, the recent contract that was entered into with the city, approved by the city for the purchase of the Majestic property. I'm here on behalf of, for the draft that I have that we've been discussing here in regards to this ordinance. Obviously, again, Mr. Albright pointed out Section 4F. I think it pretty much addresses our issue to the T, actually. Our main concern originally was that, again, the contract that was approved by the board just recently that we're working forward and towards on trying to fulfill, that an ordinance with this nature may affect that, but I believe that very intelligently that Section 4F has addressed those issues. And I would agree with everything, again, that Mr. Albright's read as the need for the ordinance for behalf of the city, for half of this contract that Mr. Wilson and the city have recently entered into in all issues. And so, again, we stand, the way it is drafted here, we stand in support, fully in support of this ordinance.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Hurst?
I have one.
Director Dobbs-Smith?
When Mr. Wilson was here, he assured us that we would not have noise that went beyond the property. Now, being reasonable, and I live near downtown, I live on Quapaw, and I hear things from downtown, and we go along with it. 10 o'clock is usually about it. 11 o'clock most people could deal with. It's not every night. But he said that we wouldn't hear the noise across the street. Now, maybe we can't hold him to that, I don't know. But if he goes back on, we won't hear the noise, will he go back on, I will have police directing traffic. I will do this, he had answers for everything, and they all sounded good. If he goes back on this one, he stood right there where you are and said, we won't hear it at St. Mary's. And all of us kind of, rolled our eyes, but he said it. So, but he also said a lot of other things, and we voted for this project because he said he would be a good neighbor. And that is a concern for me. If we're changing our rules to, obviously Section F was added specifically for this project, you're right. That's exactly what it sounds like. So are we exempting something just after the fact, after we voted for it with the idea that we wouldn't hear all of the noise, and we wouldn't have the traffic jams, and we would have the promises that he made us? So that is a concern for me.
Well, this just deals with the noise. I can't speak to traffic flow and those issues, but I believe everything that Mr. Wilson said when he stood here at the last board meeting is true and accurate, and I believe he stands on every statement that he made. I honestly, and I'm not challenging you, I don't recall him saying that you wouldn't hear noise at St. Mary's. But that would be very difficult to hear any noise.
I agree, like I said, but he, and I hate to keep pointing at Director Holliday, but she questioned him on it, and he said, I invite you, we have special high-tech, new technology that will dampen the noise to the point that you can stand on the St. Mary's lawn and you won't hear it. Now,
and I'm not an engineer or sound expert by any means.
I'm not either, but I'm just telling you what he said.
Right, I understand.
So, that's all right.
But
thank you so much.
Okay.
I have a quick question. My suggestion was to remove F, so there wasn't this exemption, so to speak. So if the facility was governed under C1, which had this either 90 or 100 decibels, again, I know you're not a sound engineer, I'm not either. I don't know what it's going to sound like at the sidewalk. But on behalf of your client, if that is removed and there is a decibel level that is needs to be reached, and perhaps a time that needs to be reached, is that something that they're prepared to move towards?
Well, it's hard for me to really answer that because the contract was just approved roughly 30 days ago, and so now we're a little bit going fast track here to what we would consent to, what we would not. And again, without doing some kind of research, I don't know. I haven't been to a concert in many, many years, so I don't know what level decibels music has. I saw the chart that Harmony had, and that was new to me. So. So I can't really, it's hard for me to answer that question without having that background or information or guidance from some type of expert who could tell us where we would be at before we could really take a position on what we would consent to
Okay.
or stipulate to.
Director Garcia?
I would just, not a question, just a comment that there was a concert not before last at Oaklawn. There was a concert there the week before and 2 weeks before that. And they've had outdoor concerts. I don't know if they're going to anymore, but I don't view it just for this specific project. I view it for any of the events that we have anywhere in town. And we've got a venue on District 5 that's going to have concerts.
Any further questions to Mr. Hurst? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rick Williams will be our next speaker. Please come forward, restate your name, address, and district, please.
My name is Rick Williams, here on behalf of 2330 Central District 5. In support of this noise ordinance, I purchased a property, the W.C. Brown Estate, back in 2015. It's been under restoration for many years now. We're just about to complete that. And appreciate the board, appreciate all the city staff, proud of my city, love our city. But one of the key core businesses of the bed and breakfast is wedding and event venue. And one of the things that is very scary to the operators is, what do we tell a couple getting married? Hey, you need to tell your band X. Like Mr. Albright said, we would love to be able to measure that. You know, you don't want a couple getting married and all of a sudden they're in trouble, or you've got to turn the music off. I would almost donate the tools to measure that at the property line. That way, if somebody is in the middle of a wedding reception or a band or a dinner, police officer pull up, the neighbor's upset, you know what? Kick it down, keep going, you're within your limits. So being able to measure that, I think, is crucial for 2330 Central and 2300 Central for the business. It's a crucial part of the revenue for that business. So again, kind of went on a leap of faith. I've done that numerous times for many years. Love my city. We're going to continue to do that. And really would appreciate the support and give you my support for this noise ordinance.
Any questions?
Do you
Mr.
see
Williams?
your wedding events going past 11 p.m.?
No, ma'am. I really don't. I could say you could roll that back. I mean, 11 p.m.'s fine. I think that's reasonable.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Our final individual signed up to speak on this issue is Mr. Michael Crawford.
I think he actually signed up on the wrong one, Mayor. He thought he was here for a condemnation that,
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, then that concludes those who have signed up to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience that wanted to speak on this issue, this item? Very good. Discussion amongst directors.
I have a question. Considering how much we just threw at you, I would assume we're not making specific amendments at the moment, so we need to give you time to make revisions.
Yeah, I would appreciate, and I appreciate the discussion that's been had and the debate that's been had. I did anticipate 99% of your comments, and so I do have a red line version with me. With the board and the mayor's indulgence, I'd like to go through it just a little bit to see how close I am, so that I can bring something back to you. And I'm not asking for your commitment tonight, obviously, but if this were to be tabled, I could bring it back to you at the next meeting and hopefully be close to where you all want to be, if that's all right. I mean, you can follow with me along in the ordinance if you'd like, but beginning in section 3, as Director Garcia pointed out, there were no provisions for daytime in the residential zoned districts, and so I have added that with respect to what that time is going to be. It currently states 7 and 11 p.m. If the 7 and 11 is not good, then let's talk about what is good. Any thoughts? I know you disagree, that you disagree over there, but.
Well, in the residential zoning area, the request I had was 10 to 8, but if we didn't change it to have a weekend like the other is.
So a compromise might be to have the 10 to 8 on the weekends?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Brent?
Yes, sir.
In that section there, it does talk about the use of any device or apparatus.
Yes.
For the amplification. That's different than a builder going out and working on a job, in my mind. They're not setting up a radio, or they're not setting up a stereo system to amplify sound. They're not doing anything to a device or apparatus to amplify the sound. They're just working.
The construction is section A. You're talking about
and-
section B, right?
And you're talking about B.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, I'm
Right.
talking about B.
So I don't think we had we talked about a disagreement over here on that.
Construction is still 10 to 7.
Right.
Yeah, they would like a weekend one on that if we're not gonna change 7.
10 PM to 7 AM?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is now.
Yeah, we don't, it's not gonna bother us, and I'm sure, you know.
That one's not, right. Yeah.
There are probably people that work all night. A lot of places, you know.
We're talking heavy equipment that's
Okay,
the
but-
question.
They've worked heavy equipment in a lot of places.
Are we under A, we're talking about construction right now? Right? And so it says 10 to 7. Are we talking about having a weekend for construction,
10 to 8.
10 to 8? Okay. Paragraph B under section 3, this is just.
And that's a compromise. The
That,
majority request I had was 8 all the time.
I
but
understood that as a
Okay.
compromise, yes. And you're not voting on your compromise, we're just trying to get toward the middle, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
And was there, there's no decibel levels required for construction?
on the construction, there is not one present.
So.
I think that would be incredibly difficult.
I mean,
Yeah, I noticed one of those on there was a jackhammer. You know, and that's got a pretty high decibel level.
it does. And, skill saw is, pretty high
What's the
screen.
decibel level of our siren?
It's not bad.
Well,
Little
and also, let's bear in mind that when we're talking about the measurement, as opposed to what we have in our chart, this chainsaw, okay, that's right there at the source. The decibel
It's not
reading at the
down
property
street.
line may not,
Won't be that high.
may not be so high, but, yeah, I would say that our emergency warning system is pretty high if you're right under it, but it's exempted.
Yeah,
And I see him sitting back there. What about the airport?
It's exempted.
yeah, it was on the exemption list.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, we've got some construction that,
For aviation purposes.
Yeah.
For AV, I'm not-
I live right under that runway.
Right,
But there's been concerts out there too.
yeah.
And there's gonna be a big one next year.
And so, Bill
what
just
I'm saying.
mentioned, in some construction sites, because of the land that's there, blasting, explosives.
Like dynamite
But
across
you know,
the street for
I
me.
I have not heard that at all, and I see that email come through, and there's gonna be
Mhm.
blast. I've not heard it one time.
I do.
They're evidently, well, yeah, but you're a
Across
whole
the
lot
street.
closer than anybody
I
else.
felt it
They
too.
they have padded it pretty well.
Right.
Yeah, it's not real bad.
So
But
it-
it's just for an instant.
Is that
Right.
enough on construction? It's-
Yeah,
is it-
as
okay.
long as you don't keep me from going to work at 6 o'clock.
Okay. So in the residential zoning, in general then, let's get back to that. We did not have a daytime, provision, we just had a nighttime provision. My red line that I worked on today has a daytime. I don't have the decibels filled in, it's gonna be a little bit higher than what we have in the nighttime. Did anybody have any issue with the 60 to 70 for nighttime in residential?
Well, what about the hours? If that's residential, so why can't it be 10 to 8?
It can be whatever,
I mean, that,
four of you
for
decide.
the residential, this isn't talking about the construction in A.
That's correct.
this is, why can't it be 10 to 8 in the residential? This is the, request from neighbors of STRs as well as just the general feedback of residents without STRs. From the feedback I got, which mostly was residential.
Yeah, I bet you did. I'm just, four of you got to agree on that. So that's all I'm saying. I don't-
Yeah.
I have no problem with it staying at 11 or going to 10. No one really had an opinion one way or another. To me, quite frankly, I thought it was 10 for whatever reason. I've always thought we had to be done by
Any
10.
objections at first blush to 10 to 8 or 8 to 10? Okay.
10 to 8.
Okay, 10 to 8. That's what I jotted down. So paragraph C, non-residential districts. We had daytime, we didn't have nighttime. So again, the flip there. This is non-residential. The times are different Sunday through Thursday than they are Friday through Saturday. Sunday through Thursday, it's 8 to midnight and then midnight to 8. On weekends, it's 8 to 1 o'clock and 1 o'clock to 8. What's the pleasure there? Is 1 o'clock too late?
In non-residential zoning, so does that include CTRs?
Yes.
And the gentleman that spoke a while ago about his wedding venue.
C4.
And so C4 isn't addressed?
It's non-resident, yeah, it's addressed here.
Oh, it's part of this too. Anything that's not a C1 or residential.
I think what you'll run into here is going to be more of your rooftop bars that's got a band out there, guitar player out there, you know, some of those activities, big chill.
Right.
You know, Saturday night, they're gonna stay open till 1. I think that's what you're probably gonna run into there. There's probably not gonna be a whole lot of other people that have that kind of issue.
Well, some wedding venues have music outside.
Till 1?
No, well, I don't know. The ones
Good.
I'm familiar with have gone to midnight, and this would take care of that.
So I have
You're not in bed by midnight?
I have a Sunday through Thursday from 8 until midnight, and then the nighttime will be, you know, the reverse of that with a lower decibel than what we have in daytime. And then Friday and Saturday will go to 1 o'clock. Again, with a daytime of 90 to 95, nighttime will be a little lower than that.
I can't get married no more.
Any comments? And then Section D, speaking of the C1 zoning, we didn't have decibel levels, we did not have times. So I have drafted 8 to 1, which was the Friday and Saturday night standard for non-residential, and the decibel level, daytime 90 to 100. Nighttime will be the opposite times with a lower decibel.
Well, it sounds like the police are gonna be busy.
Yes,
We need to
Amen.
hire more.
And then,
really working.
I have a question. Does that actually just copy what we just said? Sorry. I'm trying to make sure I
No,
follow
that's
it.
different.
no, 90 to 100.
Okay, so the decibel level's just
Higher.
5 higher in C1 than it is in the rest of.
Correct.
Okay, following.
Yes.
But the times would mirror.
The times would mirror the weekend times in the non-residential.
Yeah.
C1 would have those times every day of the week.
Okay.
They don't have to. That's just what's on paper.
That's what you got down.
You really need to go till 1 a.m.
I don't need to go to 1 a.m., but, you know.
About 5 years ago, I would have emphatically said yes, so, wasn't that long ago.
I used to hear the people from the ice house come
So you're
closing
getting
up.
old, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Good time, Charlie's.
Good time, Charlie's.
Okay, so then moving on to section 4, paragraph D, I have deleted because I've merged it with 5C, which I'll share with you in a minute. 4F. Do we want one for facilities such as this, or do we want to apply the limitations on the zone in which it's situated?
I think it should all be based on zone.
But when it's based on zone, just because the zone stops on whatever street, Walnut Street, that sound is going to carry to way further than Walnut Street.
It may very well. That's why it's measured at the property line.
Okay.
My concern is the decibel level.
Right. So let's
Because
let's take the Majestic property. That's C1. Decibel level during the daytime is 90 to 100. Nighttime wasn't in. Neither one of them are in there. Nighttime's probably going to be lower than that. Yeah, definitely lower than that. So the daytime gets you through to 1 a.m. from 8 in the morning until 1 a.m. 90 to 100. You know, if this little chart is, you know, a live rock band, 130, that's at the point of the sound. It may not be 100 at the property line.
You know, like, I don't know
And,
what
you know,
they are at some of these other venues,
Yeah.
like Oakline.
Oakland's
Well, the
enclosed.
sound
I
is
can't
gonna be
imagine
different in
being
Oakland
outside
because
of
the
it.
ground is
Infield.
flat.
Infield.
Oh, the infield.
You go to Magic Springs, and if you're all the way at the top of their amphitheater, you can't hardly hear the band because of where they sit down below. The amphitheater is what I see at Majestic is built very similar. The stage is down low, everything is up high, so you're not going to get a lot of sound. And what Mr. Wilson said is probably true. I mean, if you really want to get a judgment on it, go to Magic Springs during one of their concerts, a rock band that's going to be loud or whatever it is, and go all the way to the back and listen. And it's going to be about what it's going to be at the Majestic. The sound is going to be absorbed there. Now, Oakland would be different because it's flat and it's got no place to absorb.
Which means they should fare just fine under the C1.
I didn't hear you.
So what you're saying is that they should fare just fine under the measurements under C1, and this wouldn't be necessary anyway.
So, but if we do get something wrong, we can always come back and make adjustments, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, but we don't want to come back and make adjustments after someone has built something to spec based on the code and change it after the fact.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
And,
I
you
wasn't
know-
thinking of it.
And maybe, you know, with decibel levels of approximately 100 available until 1 a.m. in the morning, maybe Mr. Wilson's team can do a little assessment on that and see what the sound engineers say. That would be helpful. Okay, so that's F.
And Brian, F is going to stay in as it reads?
My request is that F is gone.
At what?
I'm asking that F get cut completely.
Oh, I don't think so. I wouldn't support taking F out. We've, as Mr. Hurst mentioned, we've entered into a contract with someone under a certain set of circumstances, and this says, it says, designed and built with inherent architectural design, landscape, and topography to reduce sound to minimal intrusive levels. And as Carol pointed out, the sound's going to be going up the hill.
Up the mountain.
The stage is going to be close to Central and Whittington, and the sound's going up the mountain. I don't know.
Well, and that development will go through the planning commission. It'll
That's
go
right.
through, developmental review committees of the city, go through the planning commission
And we still have the option of not exercising our option ourselves, don't we? I mean, when this all gets done and everything and we don't, I don't guess we could back out of it on this because it was ours was if we didn't like who the management was, I think is what.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we'd go out on this, right?
No.
We wouldn't go out on this, but I mean, if it restricted, and we're getting over to a different issue now, but if we restricted the ability to develop, as
Then he
was,
may
as
back
was
up.
intended,
Or he might sue.
right.
So he can say
Because
whatever
we
he
already
wants to
entered
say,
into
and we don't have
agreement.
to.
He can sue.
No, I'm saying that as this draft is written, it has to be approved by the planning commission, so all of that testimony, all of that evidence, all of the planning and the sound engineers, they're gonna have to sell the planning commission, on the development and it be approved.
Fair enough.
Yeah. If this stays in.
Okay.
So my plan, I'm just gonna, let you know ahead of time, what I bring back to you, the modifications that we're talking about, I'm gonna leave F in. If that ends up being an item that, someone wants to make an amendment subsequent, to this being amended, to take it out, then you all can debate that point. Okay.
I guess we can do that with anything that you
Yes,
bring
sir.
back.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that-
That's right.
Well, but just bear in mind, by leaving
Four of
F
us.
in, there's no time for the sound, for this noise level to change. Because with F in there will be no time that a facility that is governed under this will have to essentially turn it down.
Mhm. Well, I mean, we can start kind of moving the goalpost if you want to. I mean, we could have a time. We could make it it's already 1 o'clock on the weekends in C1. Or actually, everywhere in C1. It's already 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
The decibel level can be higher than it is in a C1. I don't know that you have to get to 130. That's a live rock band right there in front of the speaker. But if that's the issue, that you want a definitive number and you want a definitive time, I mean, we can talk to whoever you want to talk to. Concerts aren't going to go past 1 o'clock, I would think. And they're probably not going to hit 130 decibels at the property line.
But at least if we put something in there, they can't go past it.
Right.
So if you leave it open now, they could say we're
Right.
gonna have a midnight it's a
Right.
midnight special.
Right. So, I mean, is there any support
Nice special.
for
Wouldn't be many of us there.
a 1 o'clock cutoff at 130 decibel?
That's terrifying. That actually ups it to me. That makes it worse. Good
Then-
Lord.
Then F's looking pretty good.
I think the fact that it's in a C1, it should be governed under C1. And the same, I mean, you have to think, this could end up somewhere else. Someone could do another, I mean, this doesn't say Majestic Amphitheater.
It doesn't.
It says a facility
Mhm.
that has these architectural design components to it.
Right.
And then minimally intrusive is subjective. I mean, and as far as, Magic Springs, I walk the top of the mountain every day. I can hear everything when you walk across the mountain. And there's a lot of people over in those neighborhoods that can hear, because it's just the weirdness of our landscape. You may not be able to hear it in the amphitheater, but you can hear it outside of it.
Flat ground.
So.
Let me bring you a multiple choice.
Well, I think we've got
Right,
enough
right.
changes going that we just need to get it back in front of us and let us digest it again.
Okay. That'll do it. And the emergency clause will come out because we need the time to buy the equipment from the effective date.
Can we do that in 30 days?
I think so. Yeah, these are.
I mean, is it readily available?
I think so.
Okay. Well,
Chief's
and
back there. Is it readily available?
You can get your glasses on, Carol.
I'll report to Brian the availability of the equipment within the next few days.
Do what?
He'll get back to you.
And I think Mr. Williams made an offer to purchase that equipment if,
Oh.
if I heard him right.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
And just to be clear, because I took a note that you said section 5A, everything's going through PD, it's not neighborhood services, right?
Correct.
That's in your red line?
Yes.
Okay.
Neighborhood
Yes.
services coming out.
Yes.
Right.
Police department only.
And development, yeah.
And then 5C, adding to that list of things, utilities, public works, solid waste, and bus routes. And so 4D is coming out because it's covered under 5C.
Very good. All right, so you'll have a draft on that. Now, it seems like it's been an hour ago since we brought this matter up. So did we vote on this already, or we got to?
No, sir,
I moved that
We
we
had a
table
motion to
this
table.
item
Right.
until the next
We had a
meeting
second.
for the attorney to have opportunity to bring forth all of these changes into an amended document.
Harmony, we didn't call roll yet, did we? Might as well call roll.
Wait,
Please.
should I have a second?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we got way over here. Miss
All right,
Director Holliday.
you ready? Director
We are
Holliday?
ready.
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Dobbs Smith?
Aye.
Weatherford?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Trustee?
Aye.
Mayor McCabe?
Aye. The item is tabled. That concludes the action items of this evening. Now have board commentary. Anybody have a item they'd just like to make the balance of the board and community aware of, or? Nobody's got anything? Just want to announce that Mayor Tim McKinney, who's newly elected president of the Arkansas Municipal League, has asked me to serve as chair of the Cities of the Large First Class, which I have agreed to, so I'm happy to serve in that capacity, which also puts me on the executive committee of as the City of Large First Class representative. So I'll be serving in those roles as well as the steering committee of the Municipal League Defense Fund. So
Well, you getting
I know.
all kind of awards.
Well, it kind of all comes under one hat, so to speak, but we had other directors appointed to those positions. I think it's real important for the city of Hot Springs elected officials to be represented in those style committees.
Agreed.
They do great work and provide good guidance to the municipal league staff. So thank you all for your willingness to serve in your various capacities. Any other items? All right, Ms. Jones.
Well, Mayor, since nothing's been said or done, no, everything's been said, not done. I move that we adjourn the meeting for the night.
Second.
We got a motion to adjourn. We got 2 seconds on the far right.
2 seconds.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
You turn the lights off. Thank you.
No what?
We are adjourned.
Sadly.